No, absolutely not. I'll rip him every day for probably 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the game. Yeah.
Well, you
You
gotta.
don't
Is both sides feel extremely confident, and that's what I'm excited to talk to you about today. Of your level of confidence on where this Lane Kiffin situation is. I feel like you've been pretty. I mean, the video that I saw, at least, not 100%. Like you're sold, but you were still in the understanding that it is Lane. Anything could happen.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, he's whimsical. You could feel confident all the way up until the point where you're not, and he's gone. I mean, that just happens. In 2022, Auburn was dead sure. I mean, what Florida is doing right now and how confident they are online, imagine that 10 times more, and that was Auburn in 2022. They thought this was a done deal. He ended up staying in Oxford. Um, so what I like to tell people is it's kind of like the Dark Knight Rises. You guys just rent the darkness. We were born into it.
Oh.
This is our 6th year in a row of going through this. So we kind of know the script. We know what to expect. And that is probably where the confidence comes from, because the reality is with Lane, he hasn't probably spent more than 10 seconds thinking about the Florida job or the Ole Miss job or anything that's going to happen after the playoffs if they make it. I honestly think that he is 100% committed to the playoff and making that run, and he should be, because you guys had the national championship with Tim Tebow and all that, and Steve Spurrier and all of those Gore years. If Ole Miss makes the playoff, that is a culmination of Ole Miss kind of turning that last corner that they've been trying to get to for 60 years, that this NIL and transfer portal era has allowed them to do. And that's an important thing that people need to realize. We talk about how important this game is for Ole Miss. It has nothing to do with Florida. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. It's about what it means if Ole Miss can win the next ball game. And that's honestly what the majority of the fan base is thinking about going into this weekend, with a little bit of banter back and forth with Florida fans on Lane Kiffin.
I wouldn't call it little, but
it's pretty extensive, but it's fun to watch for sure.
I've been on the receiving end of some tweets.
Yeah,
yeah,
the burners are out.
A lot of burners are out.
So, look, I mean, I do like your analogy of the Dark Knight there. Like, you guys have lived this world from multiple sides. And again, from the Lane Kiffin side of it anyways, of the drama that you guys have ensued. And you spoke to him being highly hyper-focused on the playoffs, which I believe that he is. That's something that I've said on my shows. Like, I like that he's focused, regardless of what he chooses to do. Like, that's what you would want your next head coach to be like, is hyper-focused. What do you say to the literally 9 other coaches? Brom is now basically the last one that has been targeted, that has now in talks of, at least it's not necessarily it's been signed, right? Brent Key and him himself have not signed anything, but there has at least been a report that, hey, there is a discussion. We haven't even got that from Lane on either side. What is your thoughts to that?
Lane does not sign extensions with Ole Miss or talk coaching jobs until the end of the season. That is the reason this can get out of hand with the media, is he just doesn't acknowledge it until the season's over. And that's the reason I say I don't think he's thought about it at all, and it's not even on his mind or something like that, because this has gone on for 6 years. When I say Ole Miss fans know the script, that's what I'm talking about. And we'll see what happens with Lane Kiffin. I mean, he could end up taking the job. He could end up staying at Ole Miss. The rumor is Ole Miss is going to offer an extension somewhere around $13.5 million, like the highest paid coach in college football, with all of the perks that he asked for. Basically, they capitulated on absolutely everything. So Ole Miss has put out its best foot on this thing. If Lane decides that he wants to go back to where his ex-wife's father or grandfather played quarterback at Florida, if the ties to Gainesville just grabs him, great. If he takes the job, if they fire the coach for the Miami Dolphins, and after the playoffs, he goes down to the Dolphins, fine. The fact of the matter that's the most important thing about this, that honestly doesn't get much run, the fact that other coaches know that Ole Miss is willing to pay this amount of money means that Ole Miss is going to be able to get a pretty dang good replacement. So if that happens, there is a nice backup plan. But with Lane, you never know. His son, which, by the way, shame on Rivals for interviewing his son about his father potentially taking a job.
Right.
That
man got dragged.
That was a terrible look. But his son is a sophomore quarterback in high school. He just won the starting job this year. His daughter is like a junior at Ole Miss that is the one that saved him from going to Auburn, according to the ESPN documentary. There's a lot of ties that's in. Chris Kiffin, his ex-wife's in town. There's a lot going on this outside of the fact that, hey, here's just a bunch of money. So nobody really knows. Anybody that's super confident on the Florida side, I don't believe. Anybody that's super confident on the Ole Miss side, I don't believe. I think at this point, honestly, we just speculate and you just don't know.
Yeah, a good buddy of mine always said that when there's like a coaching search going on, it's misinformation season.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Clark, you got anything for him?
It should.
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead, man.
No, I just so you said you've been going through this for the Ole Miss fan base and beat's been going through it for the last 6 years. Has this been essentially a carbon copy of every year, or have you noticed any differences or any different nuances throughout this process with Lane in interviews or anything like that that's been different than anything in the last 6 years?
Listen, the Auburn, like I said, the Auburn search in 2022 was 10 times worse than this. Everybody thought Lane Kiffin was going to Auburn on that one. Everybody did. Lane Kiffin was trolling. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
He was trolling the fan base, making fun of the roof leaking and stuff like that. He was doing some immature stuff. This one hasn't gotten there. Yeah. When he starts trolling his own fan base and kind of setting up the next best thing, I think that's the point that you really start to worry. Until that happens and he's hyper focused on the playoff and doing exactly what he's supposed to do, it's kind of status quo, if we're going to be honest.
So let's play a game real quick, because if last time he was trolling Auburn, I feel like he's trolled Florida more so, if anything.
No. He was trolling Ole Miss last time.
I know. Oh, yeah. And he stayed. This time he's trolling us. Maybe that's where he's going to go. The interesting situation that's happening this week, and this is, look, I'm going to be honest. I don't know how to feel. Like, people think they're going to like laugh at me. Look, I'm going to have just as much fun as anybody with this thing, because we don't control it. Like, they're going to have the greatest time ever. We've got choo-choo horns. You guys don't even have that. You guys have belts, but that's besides the point. He's got multiple Florida commits visiting this weekend. And I was like, this is a level of trolling that if he were to come to Florida after this, that's like you're at your girlfriend's house, you bring in the new girl to come over for dinner, and you introduce her to everybody, and then you leave with like, hey, I'm leaving with her. I just wanted you guys to see her before I left. Yeah. I just don't. For me, I don't see how he would do Ole Miss dirty like that. That's where I would be shocked.
No, I don't think he's trolling as far as the official visits coming in. I think the player personnel department saying, hey, we need to have at least put our best foot forward with some of these players, because this is an opportunity that 2 weeks ago you didn't have. So they're going in like the safety coming in and visiting. I think they're just good football players. And Lane is very big. Yeah, very big on good football players, and it doesn't matter where they come from. Dean Leonard and Tavius Robinson were playing like low-level college ball in Canada, and Lane got them to transfer down. Now they're both playing in the league. You know, if you can play, he will find you. And I always tell people Lane's best strength that he has. Everybody likes to talk about offensive genius and all of that stuff. The best thing that Lane does is he is an elite roster builder. He knows how to build a roster up. And that's the reason that even though everybody thought Ole Miss was going to slide back to the pack this year, it's just Ole Miss had really talented players that were replacing these stars from last year's choke job. And they were really good coming in. a mix of high school and transfer portal and all of that. And they do a little bit of money ball. They find players like Deshaun Stribling and Harrison Wallace III at wide receiver because they didn't want to spend $1.5 million like they did on Eric Singleton at Auburn. I mean, they are really good at finding the players to make this system work. And I'm telling you, I think this Ole Miss football team is better than the team they had a year ago when all of those stars were running through and all those first round picks were out there.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing to see. I really love Trinidad Chambliss. I think Trinidad Chambliss is a great quarterback. I don't know, he's not talented like Austin Simmons. He's not talented like Jackson Dart. But I talked last year. There were games. There was the Florida game. There was the LSU game. There was the Kentucky game where you look at the box score and Trey Harris had 10 catches and the second receiver had 2. With Trinidad Chambliss, yeah. Trinidad Chambliss has 5, 4, 3, 3, 3. It's complete balance. Everybody is getting a touch, and you don't know who to double, and that is what's making this offense effective. Listen, the roster building for Lane Kiffin, it is the best thing that he does, honestly.
Heading into this weekend, Ole Miss, the spread's moved from, I think it opened up at 13. Now it's up to 15, 16. I've seen it in some places. What's the confidence headed into this week? Obviously, after Florida drops a tough one against Kentucky. And like you said, it wouldn't matter what opponent was rolling into Oxford this weekend. It's a must-win for Ole Miss to close this thing out strong and stroll into the playoffs. Even if they don't play in the SC championship, they would lock themselves in. How do you see this game going?
I think this is going to be a cauldron in Vaught Hemingway Stadium. I know that a lot of people don't respect a 64,000 seat stadium. That place is going to be pretty electric atmosphere-wise because you got a group of fans coming there expecting essentially a coronation to get where they're going to go. And then on the other side, you have the team that is coming after your head coach. So that is giving you license to be even more rowdy in the stadium. Ole Miss is confident. They should be confident. It's a 15.5 point line right now or something like that. Ole Miss has the better team. And if you look at Florida's availability report, they're good players that are just not playing.
Or lack thereof in this case.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's one of those things to where if Lane Kiffin does not make the playoffs, if that happens, if he does not make the playoffs, he would have taken part in the 2 biggest choke jobs in Ole Miss football history in back-to-back years. It's true because it's at the point where if Ole Miss does not make the playoffs this year, it is a massive choke.
You don't want them anyways. You're shipping them out anyways.
Well, you should look at it like this. If it happens and Ole Miss doesn't make the playoff on that 9-3 team in 2024 and they don't make it this year, paying $15 million, that's going to take some explaining to people to get it done.
So we can get a discount too. So Florida's got us to strap up this weekend. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Hey, I want to see Ole Miss get off to a fast start because we've all been in interim type situations. We all saw the Kentucky game. If you get up on a team, if you get up by 2 scores on Florida, they might just let go of the rope, and just kind of move on to the next week. I was joking around with somebody, I think it was the Locked On Seminoles person, and said the Florida State Florida Bowl might be the quit bowl. It's like they're playing like the South Park episode where they keep both of them are keep trying to lose the game to go home. That's the way that might look. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be weird because it is a game that Ole Miss should win, but Ole Miss should have won last year if we're going to be real about it. Ole Miss had the better team last year.
Sure.
And they didn't win. So if DJ Lagway all of a sudden snaps into it and becomes the quarterback that we all expected him to be, they find some weapons that people aren't quite expecting. Jaden Baugh gets loose in the running game. Florida could be problematic. You need to be careful. You don't want this game to be late in the third quarter in a 1-score game.
Yeah, and again, this is – go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say right because I mean, like Florida, you go into Lexington last week. They obviously laid an egg there defensively, right?
Mm.
But for the whole year, Florida's defense
Offensively
has been
too.
playing pretty well. Not elite or anything like that, but they've been playing pretty well. Top 60, top 50, somewhere in there. If Florida somehow, some way is able to put together a defensive effort against this high octane offense, I think the game could have a chance to be pretty well. And as an Ole Miss fan, I would say that you're probably you're more relying on your offense than your defense. I know the defense has some spots in there that they give up some points every now and then, but for the most part, Ole Miss's offense is able to alleviate a lot of the deficiencies there defensively. But so far, Ole Miss's defense has been playing a little bit better than I've seen them in usual years. So I think that Lane's done a very good job of losing his starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, and then bringing in Chambliss. And Chambliss has done a great job. And I think the one thing that I like about Lane Kiffin is he always finds the quarterbacks that makes the right decisions, makes quick decisions, they're accurate, and they can get the football down the field. And I think that is what ultimately is going to make this game good is if Florida's defense can find themselves the defense that they had against Georgia, the defense they had against all these multiple teams. If they can find that defense again, this will be a good game. Now, if we see the same defense that we saw in Lexington last week, it could get away pretty quick.
Steven,
Yeah, that's rough, man.
Good.
That was rough. Kentucky not punting in a ball game. That is like you should get like a Boy Scout merit badge for that. That's impressive.
That happens
it
every
was
time we go to Lexington.
Tough sledding there for the boys last weekend for sure. I want to ask you this. I want to ask you two more questions before you let you rip, and tell me where they can find you too, Steven. Let's play our ball for just a minute. Hypothetically, if he announces, because I'd assume you're expecting an announcement after the Egg Bowl, right? Regardless.
No. I'm expecting an announcement after the last play of the last game.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if Ole Miss makes the playoff, the announcement won't come before December 21st. And that is if Ole Miss loses. If Ole Miss plays a home game, they're 21-1 over the last 3 years at home. They're likely going to win. They've got an ACC team or a G5 team potentially. They're going to be playing on January 1st. I think that is the thing that gives Ole Miss fans like solace a little bit is the timing doesn't really match up because will Florida be willing to wait knowing that he's whimsical? Because you could be getting the nod. Yeah, I'm coming because he's not going to sign anything that can be leaked back. He's not going to sign a single thing. And then he's like, I'm coming. It's like, okay, Lane's coming. Everybody gets hired. All the chosen coaches go. Lane Kiffin wins January 1st to make it to the national semifinals, which is absolutely possible to win a football game. Now you're dealing with emotion setting in and the thought that, hey, maybe I can do this here. And that changes the calculus of the search. And if Lane Kiffin decides to stay like he did in 2022 in the Auburn search, if he tries to stay at that point, Florida's coaching search is blown up. There's no chance to do that. You're going to find somebody from the NFL maybe, but you're rolling the dice. It's another Jim McElwain or Will Muschamp. It's the same thing that has happened over the last 4 cycles. So that is a possibility with the timing of this. I do not expect him to announce one way or another after the Egg Bowl. I don't think he's going to do anything that jeopardizes this playoff run because it is by far the most important thing to him.
I don't see Florida waiting that long personally. I think they'll if he doesn't sign by then, I think they'll be forced to make a move. If he does announce, let's just say hypothetically after the bowl game or the Egg Bowl, he is coming to Florida. Are you okay with him coaching out the rest of the playoffs?
No, absolutely not. I'll rip him every day for probably 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the game. Yeah.
Well, you gotta
because
think though too, like if he's announced, like say he was announced after the Egg Bowl, go to Florida, and then they go to a playoff, like if you have him coach, that's going to ruin the team chemistry right there. Like he's not coaching Ole Miss anymore.
Yeah, this isn't like John Summerall going to Auburn and coaching the bowl game to where Auburn's going to get a little pub from Tulane in the bowl game. This is an SEC coach going to another SEC team and giving that team pub that you play, I think, next year in Gainesville, which, by the way, if that happens, that game becomes real fun instantly.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can let him coach the game if that happens. Like I said, to prevent that from happening, that is why he's not going to announce, because I don't think Keith Carter or Glenn Boyce would allow him to coach in that situation.
What's your score prediction for the game, Steven? And tell everybody where they can find you at.
All right. I think it's going to be 27-14. I think it's going to be one of like a 27-7 game, a late touchdown by the Gators to make it a little bit closer. You can catch my podcast on YouTube on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Come check it out. We release a show daily, and we do a ton of extras. I think we got David Cohn from Crane and Company on there right now, and a couple of Ole Miss legends stop by every week and talk about the game. So join us. It'll be fun. Hey, I'm even okay with all the Florida fans coming on in. It is all in good fun. We're having fun at this point because, honestly, guys, it's status quo. There might be speculation, but that's all it is at this point. And you can also catch us wherever you get your podcast. So that'd be pretty cool. Anyway, thanks guys for having me on. This is pretty cool.
Steven, thank you.
Yeah,
and we'll see you in the swamp, Bubba.
All right, bud.
Be good, man.
See you.
All right, man.